Lisa Capalla. Welcome to Where's Wilmington. Today I have the pleasure of talking to you about energy conservation. It seems we are all concerned about the environment, how we can do things more efficiently, better actually, and I think that's been happening for a long time. And today we're going to talk about some of the newer ways that you can save energy, specifically electricity. So today we have with us Jared Carpenter. He is from Reading Municipal Light Department and he is an energy efficiency engineer. Right next to him is Mary Ellen O'Neill. She is from RMLD as well and she's a board member there. Welcome both of you to the show.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
So I guess the big buzzword these days is go green or conserve, and I know you're both anxious to tell me a little bit about what Reading Municipal Light is doing to help homeowners and business owners as well, but today we want to focus mostly on the homeowner about energy efficiency. So Jared, I wanted to start with you and ask you actually how you became an energy efficiency engineer and expert.
Well, my background for undergrad in college was in mechanical engineering. And then I began working, doing a lot of building engineering, and then I am going back to school for my master's degree in energy systems. So it's kind of all based around those things, and it kind of just, I've had this love of energy for such a long time, and the efficiency business is just an absolute load of fun and a constantly changing market. So I kind of worked through the degrees and then through different jobs of doing a lot of building engineering and sort of fell into this eventually.
It's interesting that you talk about the mechanical engineering angle, but you're really more in a communications and engineering capacity with the current position you have. We're going to take a look at some field footage that you shot recently with our team to show a little bit about an energy evaluation that we did in a home. So it must be an interesting marriage for you of the technical aspects of what you know and actually teaching people how to conserve.
Yeah, I'm probably better at the technical part than I am at the communication part, but yeah, finding problem areas, in this case for tonight in homes, is a major concern for a lot of our customers, and rightfully so, because energy is expensive.
Right.
So it's a fun task to try to hunt down and find a solution to fix these problems.
Right. Now, how long have you been with RMLD?
3 years.
3 years. Now, have there been new changes in what you do to find these energy culprits, if you will, that weren't used before you came?
Yeah, we've had an energy audit program for many years. It's been in place for a long time. But we recently, about 2 years ago, changed it and we expanded it so we could do thermal imaging scans of homes and also to some other blower door tests to check for pressurizations and whatnot. And that way we could really show people where they're having problems. Right. Because one of the things about energy is you really don't see where it's being wasted. Right. So a chance to actually put your hands and actually see a picture of where it's really going helps answer a lot of questions.
Right, seeing is believing, as they say, right?
True.
And it's a nifty gadget to use anyway. Did they train you on what to look for and how to use it? It looks pretty simple from looking at the footage that we're about to see shortly.
Well, one of the things I actually went out and did was a couple of years ago, I went and became a Building Performance Institute certified energy home audit engineer. So, and that too, and also perimeter engineer as well, to be able to analyze homes and come up with a solution. And they're very specific about what they train and what to look for. So that's been extremely valuable in rewriting our audit program to make sure it'd be as successful as possible for as many customers as possible.
Excellent. You have an amazing website that I looked at that talks a lot about what we're going to cover today. So we will be putting that website information up for homeowners and folks that are interested in energy conservation and the programs that you have. This energy evaluation or audit, as you're calling it, how do people go about getting that done, and what are the requirements to be eligible? And also, is it something they can do on their own, or do they really need a professional in this case?
Well, after seeing the clip we have coming up, going through your house and understanding where you're losing energy, it's best to do as much as you can on your own, but at any point in time you can always call the RMLD and you are eligible for an audit. So we will come out and help identify places for you. But even with the audit, it's really still up to you to take that and implement a lot of these measures. So, because some of them involve gas, some of them involve electricity, there's a variety of different things. So it's best to constantly know where to look and where to chase down the biggest culprits for waste of energy. Being air leaks is by far the biggest one, and that's where the majority of our money is wasted.
Which we're going to see a lot of in the footage, which is really great for you folks to look at. It will give you an actual visual picture of what Jared and Mary Ellen and I are talking about. As far as folks getting the information from you, we want to make it clear to them, this is all optional for them. You make recommendations, you don't make mandates. So if people are fearful about you coming into their home and telling them what needs to be done, what can you say to make them a little bit more comfortable with the process?
Well, we're certainly not going to change anything. We're just there to give you recommendations to help everybody understand where they can potentially save energy. It's advantageous for the customer. It's actually advantageous for us as well. And it's very important for us to help our customers get what they want. So we're just going to give them advice and show them where they can fix things, and that's the way we can support.
Excellent. Let me play devil's advocate a little bit with you. So having said that, I know that Reading Municipal Light is the only gig in town to get energy. There isn't anybody else. So why would your corporation come up with this wonderful plan of giving folks an energy evaluation? If you're the only gig in town, wouldn't it make more sense for you to suck in all of their money and get as much energy evaluations and so forth out of them as you could? What do you have to say to that?
Well, for starters, yes, that is the case. We are municipal, and we're the only utility that serves our 4 towns that we cover. But we have a partnership with our customers, and we really want to find ways to help them save energy as well. And if we can help them save energy during our higher peak times during the daytime, especially during the summer, it actually saves us and helps us with service, with maintenance, with energy costs, with a lot of things.
So doing the audits helps the cost of energy to go down for everybody.
Yes.
So that's the real value. It's not just value for me individually, it's value globally because we're using less energy, but also it helps the price go down so everybody can afford to pay their bills, which is good. All right. Let's take a look at the footage of Jared in the field doing what we're going to call an energy evaluation. You were not acting as an auditor that day, correct?
Not exactly. An audit is a little different, but this is the things you really want to look for in your home. This is where you're going to find the biggest bang for the buck.
We're going to take a look at that. You'll see some really great stuff. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about what Jared did in that home where he conducted the field audit. And then we will get to Mary Ellen to talk about time of use and what you can do this summer to save energy with those big energy sucks, the air conditioners and so forth. So we'll talk a little bit about that, peak hours of usage, all kinds of good stuff coming your way. Stay right there. We'll be back with more.
One of the major places for air leakage in a house is in any basement door or basement window. So looking at this door here, by just feeling around the perimeter on a windy day, you can easily feel where you're losing a lot of energy. So down here there's a ton leaking out of right here, out of the base of the door here, and even up the side around the lock, and up here as well too. And that's very common, and that's a very easy fix of just using some kind of gasketing, or as you can see they have this skirt here, which is decent, but it still has air through, so you need something that maybe one of the hard rubber skirts or so to keep that air leakage out. Point being is you just want to feel for it, and you want to feel as little air leakage as possible, hopefully none. So as you can see, this is a thermal imaging camera, and what you see here is all that blue represents cold air leaking into the house. So there's the door getting warmer and warmer, but down all along the edge though, you see it's all cold air leaking in, up around the whole perimeter. Everything you see is blue, the whole perimeter of the door. It's just cold air leaking in. But the bottom is by far the worst. So just a quick example, if you look at the home heating furnace system, the reason why you want to put insulators around the pipes is because those pipes, when they get warm, they're just leaking a ton of hot, the hot water is escaping out, the heat's escaping out as opposed to moving it through your house. As you can see here on the thermal imaging camera, this is the furnace. Right now it's only doing hot water and not doing heat in the house because it's not the winter. But all that red is all hot water moving through, and just right now it's just heating up the basement, doing nothing positive as opposed to moving through the house. So putting pipe insulators on there, like from Home Depot or some other place, to keep that heat within the water moving through the house would be much more efficient than wasting it here, and make the furnace run less, thereby saving, in this case, oil in this house, but natural gas or petroleum, whatever you use in every house. So another major place where our homes leak energy is around the windows in the basement. You can see this window here, we'll zoom in a second, but it has cobwebs all around it. That's where air is leaking in, and when the air leaks in, the insects make their webs there to catch insects as they're trying to get in the house. But if you look right to the imaging camera, you can see right away, everything that's blue represents cold coming in, and the wall being much warmer. That's just cold energy coming into the house, cooling it off. And if you look around the edges there, you can see they're extremely blue, and that's where all air is just leaking right in. So the window is not air leaking in, it's just the cold passing through, and the edges there, that's all cold air leaking in. A dehumidifier is one of the many appliances that are in many houses, especially in the basement. And for one like this, it's always best to buy an appliance that's Energy Star rated. Those are going to be the ones that are more efficient, and they definitely will pay for themselves. Sometimes in as little as 3 to 6 months, and sometimes maybe more 3 years. Either way, you keep it longer than that, it's better to spend the extra few dollars to buy the Energy Star rated appliance. So as you can see here, it is an Energy Star rated unit, which is good. The tank is full, should be empty sometime soon. The speed is set on low, which is actually very good for this time of year. Now, come the more rainy times of year, this might want to be adjusted to speed 2 or whatever you might have, and you may even want to adjust this from extra dry to, you may want to change it. But it really depends on the season. Keep an eye on that because these dehumidifiers, they draw a ton of energy. You really want to make them work as little as possible. So this is but for starters, always buy Energy Star. Okay, so the front door is another major place that we always see a lot of air leakage. And once again, air leakage is the biggest place where you're losing money. This door here, if I stand back, I actually can see right outside through a crack in the door here, which could easily be fixed with caulking. And down below, if I put my hand there, I can feel a ton of air leaking in. Again, if this was the winter, this would be just an incredible amount of air leaking in that would just cool the house right off and make the oil burner run so much more. So you really want, once again, use gasketing and whatnot. And if I open the door, this is kind of good that it has a storm door on the outside here. So if you look down here, I actually can put my finger right outside. So that's just going to let all air right in. And plus, you see, it doesn't close all the way, but even if it did, it's still going to let a lot of air in. On a windy day, that'll easily bring air right into the house. This is nice that it has some gasketing here, and it has this gap thing here too, which is good. Which is decent on the edges. However, this gasketing is getting kind of old here and dried, and it's not even very thick. You may want to do another run to a hardware store and get some new gasketing and just replace it. That would make a pretty big difference. So this is the bottom of the door that we just looked at. And as you can see, all that blue is just cold air leaking in from outside. And this isn't even like that cold of a day. In the wintertime, this would look much, much worse. This is a big bay window, very common you can see in most houses. And if you just run your hand around the edge of it, you'll see, feel the cracks and feel for air leakage. Look for cobwebs too. That's kind of another good giveaway. Now this one, it has some storm windows on the outside, which is pretty good. And I even feel windows here, they're pretty tight too, so they're not bad at all. They're good. You're not going to get much better. The downside is this is going to let a lot of cold air in no matter what you do because it's still a window. So either way, once again, feel for air leaks and look for potential places where you could maybe do some caulking, make sure the windows are tight, and that's about all you can do. So this is a door here, double door going out into like a 3-season porch. Once again, these are always going to leak a ton of energy, but there's nothing you can do about them, and they're more aesthetically pleasing, so they're fine. And this is a good one. I mean, everything feels pretty tight just by feeling. I don't feel any air gaps, which you probably wouldn't because it's outside anyways. But the good thing is, though, they have this heavy curtain that they pull across, especially during the wintertime, I imagine. And that's about the best you can do. So you don't have to go crazy just getting fancy doors. I mean, these are already double glass and a nice curtain. That's about the best you can do, especially if I don't feel any air leaks. So that's good. So this is a kitchen window, and this one's okay. It has a screen on the inside and a window on the outside. It's not going to be great, but once again, replacing the window won't really be worth that much, really. But one thing, this is open, so making sure your windows are closed will do a whole lot for air leaks. And also, too, another place that's good is to feel around the edge of the window. So here, around the edge, and feel if there's caulking here in this one, so it's pretty good. But to check, because a lot of times, it's like right here, it's starting to break off. To re-caulk that to keep the air from leaking in and out of there, that will make an immense difference. Another common thing we see in basically all windows when the homes were first built, they could be insulated extremely well. However, when they insulated, they didn't really insulate around the edge of the window very well. They often built the frame and then just left it that way. So when you do that, you'll never tell from inside the house, but on like a thermal imaging camera or just by knowing construction, you're going to find usually that a ton of air is being leaked around the very edge of the windowsill. This is a fireplace. Now, many homes have them. They're often a huge place where there's air leakage around the edge of the fireplace, and even by the glass or anything else. You want to feel for those and put insulation there best you can. Be careful with that. That's, you don't want to light on fire, but that's a major place to lose a lot of energy. This here, there used to be a different fireplace here that this would blow warm air in, which is fine, but you might want to take these off and make sure these are insulated behind here, because replacing this would be tough, of course, with a facade, but to make sure it's insulated behind there, that you're not just losing heat right up the chimney from your house. Now this is a more traditional fireplace. One thing on here that's big is, first of all, the vent. Make sure this thing is closed whenever it's not being used. So this is important. Now the problem with the vents are, even when they're closed, they're not very good. They still leak a lot of air. So one thing that people can do is, you can either buy a balloon that goes up there, or you can build a cover that kind of covers this to keep air from leaking out. This one I can feel a lot of air leaking out of here right now. So once again, like on a winter day or on a summer day, this would be much, much more. Very important to kind of stop those. Other times people will put a cover across the front of it. Not very decorative, but it does the job quite well. Either way, fireplaces are a tough one because they're always going to leak a lot of air just due to the way they are, and the chimney effect and the stack effect going up the house. But a very important place to try your best to build something to make it so it doesn't leak too much energy in and out of the house. Another major place for energy leakage is actually at the attic hatch itself. Around the perimeter, a lot of air can leak in and out of here. It's very surprising how much energy you actually would lose out of there. But you often can buy these covers that go, either a blanket or a cover that goes over the top of this. We'll take a look at that on the other side in a minute. But if you just feel it and see how much it moves, this is where a lot of air leaks in and out of a house. So now this is the attic, a very typical attic. This one, not a lot of headspace, but it's open to outside. This would be a great place to do sprayed-in foam insulation. That would save an absolute ton of energy. But all in all, it's not too bad up here, but this is where you're certainly going to lose a lot of energy in the summer and in the winter. So if you look back there, as you can see, there is insulation back there, and there's places where there's gaps in it where there's no insulation whatsoever. But even the insulation that's down there, one, it's pretty dusty and dirty, and then additionally in that, it's not very thick, it's pressed down, so it's really a pretty poorly insulated attic. That's a place where you're going to lose a ton of energy. So maybe getting insulation blown in here would help quite a bit, or even just doing more of that pink roller insulation, just doing a higher quantity of it all. So using the thermal imaging camera here, it's pretty obvious, but what you're going to see is a very cold roof deck, and you're going to see some very cold blue areas where a lot of cold air is leaking in, and then where the insulation is doing a little bit of work. But unfortunately, those blue areas, that's where you're losing everything. That's where you're losing absolutely everything. So that's what you really want to repair. Quite frankly, the issue with attics is they all have to bring air in the outside to keep the roof dry so it doesn't rot. But you can do pockets with insulation over it, or foam insulation is actually fine if you get the right kind of foam insulation. That can get a little pricey, but it does a great job making your house a lot more comfortable and saving a lot of energy. So a house like this, trying to cut down on where the air is leaking in around the edge of the roof would do absolute wonders. If you look all the way down the end of the attic, you'll see those vents, very typical of attic vents. Those vents, good in the summer because it lets hot air out, but the rest of the year they should absolutely be shut off as much as possible. So those being open today, it's, you're just losing heat that could be going in your house to right outside. So going back there and closing those vents off all seasons except for the summertime would do a lot to save energy. One thing that we often hear from people is, do appliances really waste energy if they're plugged in but not being used? So here, if I show you this image here, you see that everything's blue, but that one red dot in the middle of the room there. Here, that red dot, what it is this thing plugged in to the wall. All this is some random plug that's turning on, but as you can see from the camera there, it's letting out a lot of heat and thereby a decent amount of energy. This is the kind of thing, if it isn't used or you're not using it for a few days or something, it's definitely worth just unplugging it right out of the wall. So that alone would save, when you add up enough for them, it saves quite a bit of energy on a monthly basis. Here's a quick tip. You see this is a typical dishwasher, a little bit of an older model, but if it's working fine, no need to replace it, that's fine. But you might want to have it on these energy saver modes and not on the heated dry, normal wash modes. That alone, on energy saver, it's going to use air dry to dry the dishes. Probably save quite a bit of energy as opposed to the heating element that's inside the dishwasher. Another common place to look for potential problems is around the seals of your refrigerator. You can replace these pretty easily. This one actually feels pretty good as I'm feeling it here, but a good place to look is just to feel and see if you feel any air leaks around the edges of the seals on the refrigerator. Another good place to look for is these outlets that are located on outside walls. They let a ton of air leak in around the edge, and the reason being is there's usually no insulation behind it. What you can do is you could either buy those foam gasket covers that go behind there, or you could even take the cover off and put some pink foam insulation and put it back around the edges in there, and maybe the gasket as well, to cut in how much air infiltration comes in there. On a day like this, we're not going to feel much because there really isn't enough of a temperature differential from inside to outside. But even still, if I put my hand here, I can feel a bit of a difference, and a little bit of air coming in, but not much. But on a winter day, there would be a whole lot coming in there.
Wow, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that footage of Jared in the field conducting an energy evaluation right here in Wilmington. We won't say where, but he did go out and spend quite a bit of time over there. Now, the audit or the energy evaluation we just showed, that is a shortened, abbreviated version of what you normally do, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
So what can someone expect when an energy auditor comes to their home?
Well, for one, they'll spend a little more time talking to you specifically, and they will show you a few more things and take probably a few more shots with a thermal camera. They might use a blower door if they think it's applicable, because they use it based on their professional opinion, if it makes sense or not. They will review with you about your appliances, which ones are heavier users, and give you a few more tips than
Excellent.
there.
Now, I know there was something in the documentation I read on your website about energy saver rebates. Can we talk a little bit about that? That's another way folks can save money.
Yep, we have appliance rebates for customers, including dishwashers, washing machines, certain kinds of electric water heaters, central air conditioners, window air conditioners, programmable thermostats, and washing machines. I think I said that one. So different levels, go online and see what the level of rebate is. But if you're buying an Energy Star appliance, we will provide a rebate.
I like that. That's excellent. And I suppose there are guidelines as to what year and what make, or no?
Mostly it's just Energy Star. The Energy
Really?
Star is mandated by the government to
That's excellent.
meet certain levels.
What other fancy schmancy programs do you have available to folks that they can use that they might not know about that we can share with them today?
Well, we have a photovoltaic, so solar electricity rebate up to $5,000.
Right.
That we try to support the growth of that.
Okay. And let me just stop you there. If someone is going to go solar, so to speak, should they have an energy audit done by you folks prior to that, and why? If I'm just going to change over to solar, why would it make a difference?
The most important thing I recommend is you may not need an audit, but you definitely should call and talk to us first. Just give a call in and just discuss it so we can all kind of touch bases and make sure, one, you're getting the best deal possible, and
Right.
also it makes the most sense for you.
So Jared, what about if I was thinking of going solar, as they say? Should I talk to you folks before or after? I mean, if I'm going to go solar energy, what would be the point to discussing that with you folks?
Well, the best thing you can do if you're going solar is to call us early on, because we've done quite a few projects locally here, and we have a $5,000 rebate that you can up to $5,000 rebate that you're applicable for. But just in talking to us, we can give you some tips, some ideas, best way to go forward, and just make sure you're getting good pricing,
Right.
a lot of different things. So.
Right. I mean, it's always good to have information before you attempt any large project, so I would think it would be important to get all your ducks in a row first. Which leads me to Mary Ellen, who's been waiting so patiently to talk to me about time of use. I'm sure that doesn't really tie in with the solar that we were talking about, but in a way it kind of does. Tell folks about the time of use. What would you call that, a program or a system, and what really is that?
I call it a program. It's a special rate that all customers, all residential customers are eligible. It's a residential time of use rate that requires us, you get a meter, a new meter that will keep track of your electricity and when you use it during the day, because electricity costs more when it's produced during the peak times, and our peak times are 12 noon to 7 p.m. So if you all go on this rate, and we ask you that you stay on the rate for a year, because it does require you to get adjusted to it and give it a good try. You get very inexpensive electricity for all the electricity that you use after 7 at night and before noon in the morning, Monday through Friday, any time on the weekends, and we have 9 holidays that is at the low cost all day long.
Okay, so this kind of sounds like a phone plan where I get peak minutes and off-peak minutes and all of that.
Exactly.
Right.
But the peak is expensive. That's for the electricity that you use 12 to 7. So when you get your bill, it'll tell you how many kilowatts you used in electricity that month, how much you used on peak and how much you used off peak, so that you can look at and see how you did.
Okay. So a bill that someone would regularly get would just be a standardized bill that tells them how many hours they used in total. It wouldn't be
Right.
broken down. The
Right.
bill for someone who is on the time of use system or program would be a little different. It would
Right.
break down in columns maybe how the hours are used or so forth, so you could see.
Right, so you'll know how many on-peak hours you use
Okay.
during the month and how many off-peak.
And
And
so
what
you-
I do is I always like to take a look, because I'm interested in how much electricity I use.
Right.
So what I do is I look at how many kilowatt hours per month I use, divide it by the number of days in the bill, because it does vary. So I
Okay.
get an idea if I'm doing how many kilowatt hours I'm using each day to see if we're doing better or worse than we've done before.
Okay.
I also look at what percentage of my time was on peak and off peak. When I was busy one month, I didn't do as well. I wasn't paying
Right.
attention to the hours, and I said, let it go. You can turn the dryer on at 4 in the afternoon.
Okay.
There are certain appliances that you really should try and use off peak. Your refrigerator runs all the time. You're going to have some lights on during the day, but certain things, if you can manage them, dehumidifier, run it less during the on-peak times. Your air conditioning, use it less during on-peak times. Vacuuming, the electric dryers are high uses.
Just don't do any vacuuming at all. That's
That
an
sounds good to
excellent
me.
energy saver right there. So
That's
then
right.
before someone considers, what would you say, joining the program maybe or
Enrolling in the program.
what would they need to consider? Would they need to kind of look around the house and think what stuff they use if they've got kids that are running video games or computers or what have you? Do you really need to sort of look at your home and kind of organize in your mind if this would be a good program for you? How would you do that?
Well, I think you do have to make a commitment to make some changes in your lifestyle, and it is a year. It's kind of an experiment. I found it as kind of a challenge, and it takes some education, especially if you have children in the house. But it's a great way to teach them about the environment,
Right.
about how we use energy and electricity. We've really gotten away from, can you turn the light off when you leave the room? I'm thinking, I don't think we do that anymore too much. We're a little...
Should we be?
I think so. We're
Okay.
a little, we don't think about electricity like we might have,
Right.
years back.
Well, because we have the luxury of it being so prevalent.
So prevalent,
That's
so
why.
easy, it's so reliable.
Right,
Those are
right.
all things we're
Which is
proud
nice.
of. But
it's nice, but we want to make sure that we're utilizing the energy properly so that our children and our children's children will have something. Who knows what the energy will be by then, but
That's true.
I'm sure it will have something to do with the natural resources that we're using, So once you've determined that this program might be good for you, then what happens?
then you call to the RMLD and you express your interest. You might talk with the customer service representative there and explain some of the things that you use and see if if it would work for you. I think it's worth a try. It's a year. I think it's worth trying. It's a great way. Teach your kids, talk about the times, put something up on the refrigerator and kind of make it a family, effort if you're interested.
How much can you save? And I don't know if you can answer that question, but are we talking pennies here? How large of a savings are we talking if I really make a concerted effort to shut everything off and unplug all my stuff and all of that? How much are we really talking about here?
It's not huge if you're, an average or below average user of electricity. So we kind of use the figure of 750 kilowatt hours per month as the average residential use. So I would say that if you kept yourself, we call it a split. So if, say you were able to use, I would say 20% on peak and 80% off peak.
Okay.
You would probably be able to save, if you were an average user, maybe $8 to $10 a month. Would that be
Yeah.
reasonable?
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe a little bit more.
Maybe a little bit more.
but that's
Energy
right.
prices right now are going down. Gas prices are going
Right.
down. Our, fuel costs are going down. So,
So we'll round it up and we'll say about $100 a year
right.
or so, give or take, depending on
So
your
you have
usage.
to. So that's one of the motivations. The other motivation is really to participate in using less energy when it's more expensive on the on-peak time, and that's kind of
Okay.
the environmental angle. That's also, I think, very important.
Right. Now, one of the things, Jared, that we looked at in your footage was you were showing the infrared camera and how you could see that even with an object plugged in and not on, it's still drawing energy. That really is true. I really want to talk about that because I don't think a lot of people realize that. I know I didn't. If you put those little childproof caps on, does it still leak out or does that help too?
No, the childproof cap, just the little cap there,
Yes.
that isn't going to leak anything out. It's really just an appliance. It's still going to drain a little bit
I
out.
had no idea. So are you running around in the morning, both of you, unplugging everything you own before you leave? Or, do you have power strips and you just yank them out of the wall? How do you really manage this? Because you have to practice what you preach.
Well, most likely, Mary Ellen and I probably do a lot of that, I
Okay.
think, from knowing us. But generally speaking, I know for my house, I unplug almost everything that I'm not really using, like
Seriously?
a toaster oven. Yeah, I leave it
Wow.
unplugged.
That's good. I better get on it. I have to go unplug some stuff. I mean, I know obviously we want to shut things off. We're not using them, but I never thought about it would still be drawing that energy,
phantom energy.
even if it's off. Okay, so let's talk about in the olden days, long before you were born, Mary Ellen and I might remember brownouts. We used to talk about brownouts all the time. I can remember as a kid my parents saying, no, don't use too many air conditioners in the summer because there'll be a brownout. But we don't have that really as much anymore. But the concept of air conditioners eating up energy, everybody knows about that. What can we do with the hot summer upon us to really more efficiently use energy with those air conditioners?
Well, one of the things that I recommend is you set it at a reasonable temperature, so it's not ice cold. You do draw your. I do it at home. I don't have whole house air conditioning. We have some room air conditioners, but I do really follow that practice of closing the windows, closing the blinds during the day when the sun is strong. You know, I do have trees planted on the south side of my house, so it kind of gives you more shade and helps to cool the house. I have indoor ceiling fans, which I think are terrific and can really result in like 10 degrees less, cooler temperature to the air when they're going. And then at night, everything's wide open. Open up those windows, leave them open, at night, and let that cool air come in.
And obviously, I would think using energy-saving air conditioners. I mean, you drive by people's houses, and they've got these clunkers that they've had since like 1975, still hanging out the windows with the water dripping. You see that. So those things must take a ton of energy to use, I would imagine. Are they big culprits?
They do. They're basically the largest energy users in your house, except for maybe an electric hot water heater because it's on year-round. But really, as Mary Ellen was saying, for those things, you really want to go time of use and try to not use them during the peak times. And once again, weekends don't count and the major holidays don't count, so it's just the typical Monday through Friday. So
that's kind of neat. You get a couple of freebies in there.
Exactly.
Okay. What else would you like folks to know while we've got you here, our two energy efficiency experts? I know we're going to have you on again in a few months to talk about solar energy, but one of the things I guess people would probably want to know is about if there's some sort of trouble with their service, what do they do? If they experience a brownout or a temporary energy surge, what should someone do? What's the first thing they should do?
Well, you can always contact us. Quite frankly, we usually know pretty quickly where a problem is, thanks to some upgrades that we've been doing the past number of years and are continuously doing. But if something does go out, contacting us is a
You guys are
great
pretty
start.
good. I mean, when you call, you get the automated recording that tells you, if you're calling about this address, this is what's going on. So I think your technicians are doing pretty well with that. Any new innovations in the field or in the company coming up that we'll see in the future that you can tell us about?
Yeah, one of the major things we're doing is we were able to get our hands on a grant, and also just through some general planning, to provide some very simplistic controls to turn off electric water heaters, so we can keep the rates down for that. And we want to even expand that into potentially maybe doing some pool pump, to do some demand response stuff, as it's called, where we're trying to shed load and turn things off during our peak times. And we give our customers a financial benefit for doing that, so an incentive for doing that and helping us with that. And that is one of the best ways we can use to try to mitigate using the really inefficient power plants around New England.
So what you're saying is, if I'm understanding you, is when you have the water heater and it's on in your home during the day and you're not there, you're obviously not using it, this device would be a timer that it would shut itself off, and then you could set it to turn back on so you wouldn't waste the energy. Is that kind of how it works?
We're actually going to be able to do the majority of it ourselves at the RMLD.
Really?
Yep.
Oh,
all in communication
how
with
nice
the
of you. Thank you for shutting my water off. I love it.
Well,
It's a little scary. No, that's okay. Just tell me I can't shower between 3 and 7 and that'll be fine.
No, it wouldn't be that long.
Okay.
It's up to maybe 2 hours, and mostly just
that's
during
not
the
bad.
summer. But you would know the time, and it would never be us doing it randomly.
So you can choose the time as the customer, pretty much. I mean, if I work the night shift, I'm going to want to take a shower at a different time than somebody who's up during the day. So when I sign up for that program, I could kind of let you know
Not
within
exactly.
a certain window. How does it work?
It's basically, as Mary Ellen brought out, we have our peak times, and that's what the time of use is really trying to help lower those peaks so we can save money for all our customers. This technology will help us we do it with commercial customers all the time. We want to do it with residential as well, to help share money with them for turning off major appliances.
Excellent.
And we'll provide the technology to them, and we'll even install it to make it so we can all do it easily.
So you guys have really been doing your homework. It sounds like you've been doing a lot of research about what gets used, how it's used, even thinking about pool pumps, things that we probably, as the average consumer, really do honestly take for granted. I know I do. You know, I don't unplug stuff. I'm sorry, but I will from now on. What else would you like our viewers to know today? Mary Ellen, you've got something you'd like to add to Jared's
Well, I was
comment?
wondering if Jared wanted to speak a little bit about the new meter project and what might the enhanced capabilities that might come when we get all those new meters installed throughout the whole service area.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. So we're replacing all of our residential meters first, and then commercial meters with new meters. Right now, when we want to get our reads, we have to drive around once a month and collect all those reads.
Yes. I've seen you guys.
Yep.
Not you, but I've seen you.
That's right. So the new ones, we're going to be able to do that from the office and download reads back. But one of the exciting things is, for example, if you called me and said, I'm using a lot of energy, can you tell me why? Can you help me find a solution? All I have is 1 month of data to say, I can't narrow it down, but I can start figuring things out, or I can come visit. Now, if we could get more data, like let's say it was daily, let's say it was even hourly maybe, who knows, just some more data, we'll have the capability of saying we can narrow it down to a more specific time.
Very CSI. Interesting, but very scary. A little bit brother for me, but okay, it's only electricity. It's not like it's something
It's not that scary.
illicit, right? So, okay. Well, you were using your hairdryer, I see, from 10 to no. But it's good to have information. Information is powerful, and that's really important for folks. I think you're doing a great job with all the things that you're providing, and I had no idea. I knew about the energy audit, but I had no idea about all these other programs. So folks can obviously check your websites, because I'm sure there's going to be updates and places that they can probably comment and tell you maybe where you need to go in a different direction, right? Because I understand you have a dedicated customer service. People can call, not necessarily you, because I know you're out and about a lot, but there are folks on staff that they can talk to that will answer all their energy questions.
Well, they can always ask for me. I'm often around, so.
And you're available to speak at groups and functions too, right, Jared?
Always.
Excellent, excellent. Mary Ellen, anything you'd like us to know before we close today?
I just hope people know that the RMLD strives always to provide great, reliable service at a good cost to everyone. We are interested in all our environmental responsibilities and hope people will join us in that, and that is one of the things that we did to create Jared's position. We've got a great guy in it, and it's exciting, and all the, there is so much going on in the field that it is exciting. And
and I like what you said about making it fun, because people are going crazy with the couponing now and all these other things that they can do to save energy, and I do think it might kind of be fun to chart and see, because if you don't really know what you're using, I'm clueless as to what I'd be using. It might be interested to see, where is all that energy going? I sleep with the television on all night too, so I'll probably have to stop doing that now too, unless it's my own show. But no, seriously, I'm sure a lot of us aren't really in that mindset unless it's brought to your attention sometimes. And some of the easy things that we talked about that you can do, that Jared showed in the footage about just checking and feeling for air in your home and just being more mindful. We're not saying go out and change everything tomorrow. Of course, if you want to, that's fine. But baby steps, I think, is the way to approach it. And do make it fun. It doesn't have to be, oh my goodness, now I have to do all this stuff. You can take it a little bite at a time. Right. Excellent. Thank you so much, both of you, for being with us today.
Thanks for
Jared
having us,
Carpenter
Lisa.
and Mary Ellen O'Neill. If you do want to get more information about energy or energy evaluations and audits, you can check the website there. We will put Jared's phone number and information and the website up for you, so you can get in touch with him as well. We will see you again here on Where's Wilmington. I'm Lisa Capala, thanking you for watching and reminding you the next time somebody asks you where's Wilmington, you tell them right here and right here on WCTV. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.